Welcome to our QPR Preview Show, a midweek one ahead of the home game against Hull City. Brian is on midweek duty normally, but he's away on holiday, so you've got me with George this time. We'll be previewing the visit from the Tigers shortly in the first midweek league game of the season. Obviously, we've had a few cut ones. Before that, we're going to be looking back on Saturday's defeat at Ewood Park, our first league defeat since the opening day. The game felt like it was going to be the most obvious nil-nil ever between two incredibly even teams in the first half. Nothing at all between them. But obviously, Jonathan Varane getting sent off, the game seemed to hinge on that. The first question for you, George, was it a red card in your opinion?
See, I do refereeing away from the whole QPR and everything, and I thought initially that it was a red card. I think the way that he's just lunged into it, he's obviously lost control of the ball. So for me, I think it was a red card. Looking back at the replays, you can think maybe a bit harsh, maybe it's a tough yellow, but I don't know. I think initially you got to think about what the referee has seen, and I think it is a red card.
Yeah, he's also seen the Blackburn players with their head in the hands, like he's got his leg in tatters on the floor, and don't think that helped. For me, the key thing was it was just a stupid time to dive in. He just needed to let the ball go, and the referee was going to blow for half time. So whether it's a red or not, from the stands there wasn't much argument, but it was just a ridiculous decision from Varane, especially because Santos, he was arguably lucky to escape a red card about 10 seconds before that. I thought that was a second yellow. We all had our hearts in our mouths in the stands when he pulled the defender back. Typical QPR, though, after getting away with something, we just shoot ourselves in the foot anyway. What did you make of the overall performance?
See, I think initially, first half, before the whole Varane red card, I thought it was a typical QPR away performance. You saw it a lot last year with the lots of Bristol City away where we'd nick a 1-0 and first half was quite cagey. I think it was similar to that, but as you said, Varane, he's just completely lost control and I do not know what he's doing. Sometimes I can give some leeway if the player's through and goal and he's taking him out for the red card. I completely understand that, but there was no need for him to do that whatsoever. And that's just completely changed our game. I saw in Marty's post-match interview that he said he was preparing changes to make at half time, probably forward-thinking one. So for us, that has completely shot us in the foot. And you look at the second half, I think the players never believed they could get anything out of the game. Blackburn, they were on us straight away. We made Todd Cantwell look like Messi with the amount of space that he had. But I think Nardi pulling off that incredible quadruple save before their goal, it's just frustrating that it was another deflection. I'm saying at the moment, none of the luck is going our way. Every single game, we seem to have a screamer against us or a deflection. So it's just annoying. And I think second goal, I don't know, maybe Nardi could have been a bit more commanding with his area, but I don't know. It just kind of felt a bit flat second half. We never looked like we were in the game. You could argue Paul Smith had a disallowed goal, poor referee and error, but yeah, it was just second half. We never looked like we were going to win it. I think as soon as Blackburn got that second, they took their foot off the pedal a bit. So not a great performance.
Yeah, I think it is harder to judge us too harshly because obviously half the game was with 10 men. But the pattern of the game, even in the first half, still too much passing in our own half. That was the general consensus from everyone there. And I looked at the stats, and it's 63% of our passes in the first half were in our own half again. Just too many. We're not stretching teams, playing in behind. And that would actually suit Saito and Smith to do that. So I don't know why we're still playing so much in front of the opposition. After the first few minutes when Saito and Smith had the chances, we barely got forward, even when it was 11 versus 11. Of course, going down to 10 men then, it doesn't have to mean it's game over. Blackburn, ironically, didn't win last week when they were playing the whole second half against 10 men. QPR ourselves didn't beat Plymouth playing for an hour against 10 men. Do you think he got his setup wrong in the second half, Marty?
I think it's a bit harsh to blame Marty. I think he sacrificed Dembele's creativity for potentially an outlet ball with Smith and Sato. So I think Marty may have approached it a bit wrong, but no manager prepares to play against 10 men, do they? They don't train for it. So I think for him, it was always a hard decision to make. And I always thought we were going to be up against it. I said to my dad that if we could somehow weather the storm for a good 15, 20 minutes, potentially we'd be able to get something out of the game. But no, I think it's harsh to blame Marty's setup.
Yeah, I'm not saying
No, no.
blaming him. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, I maybe would have just preferred us to put 10 men behind the ball, just try and play for a point. I've put on our forum, it's a little bit like we were halfway house. We weren't quite all out defense, trying to maybe still get forward. And it was just obvious we were going to concede. It was obviously then disheartening to concede from such a deflected strike, but overall, just not quite sure what the plan was in the second half. It could link to what you just said before about how he had in his head that he was going to make changes, and then that got torn up, and he had to throw it out the window. Maybe it just caught him off guard a little bit, and he wasn't 100% sure what to do. You mentioned the Smith goal as well. That was absolutely not a foul, but I'm not sure it would
100%.
have made any difference, nor if he'd have beaten the keeper as well, because the keeper stopped because he heard the ref's whistle. Overall, just definitely one of those afternoons that as you're questioning your life choices and why you bother, but probably a good thing to have a game straight away to try and respond with. And it's an important game, you think, now against Hull to try and get our season back on track. Against Hull, we've shared wins in each of the last two seasons, with the home side the victor each time. So we want to hope that pattern continues. The 3-0 Hull win in the last match between the sides was perhaps the most outplayed QPR have been since Marty Cifuentes took over. And prior to the Blackburn game, it was also the last time QPR had failed to score. Now, I said in the last show that it felt like it was the wrong time to be playing Blackburn. Is it now the wrong time to be facing Hull?
I think it's always difficult to say in the championship there's a wrong and right time to be facing clubs, but I think it's not exactly the best time. They've come off a 4-1 victory against Cardiff, where I know Cardiff aren't a great team at the moment. They're horrific, in fact, but that's going to give them confidence, isn't it? And I think Hull this year, they went into the season. I didn't see him doing anything much. I thought maybe a mid-table, lower half season for them after the Rosenior sacking, losing some players like Carvalho that they had last year on loan. But I think, yeah, it's not exactly the best time to be playing Hull, but yeah, it certainly makes it a must-win, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they'd only scored 5 goals in the opening 5 games. Now they've suddenly won back-to-back games and scored 7 goals in those 2 games. So just not ideal timing for QPR. And we have to recognise as well for Hull that they've had to adjust massively to a big overhaul of players. They lost so many key players in the summer. It was always going to be tough having lost, I think I read 63 of their 67 goals that they scored last season were taken out of the team. It's also a risk sacking the manager, isn't it, Liam Rosenior? He only just missed out on the playoffs, replaced him with Tim Walter. Do you know much about what we can expect from his side?
To be honest, I don't know much about him as a manager. I've looked into he had no championship experience coming in. They took a risk, to be honest with you, and I think it was a weird one from their owner set to take a risk in that moment. I thought the Rosenior sacking was harsh, to be honest. I know the resources he had, but you are forgetting that he was in the top three managers of the season nominated. So I think it was a bit harsh to sack him. But no, I don't know much about his teams. I know that they still have players of quality in their side. They brought in Liam Miller in the window, who you saw for Preston last year, although he played in a more defensive role, he still contributed to quite a lot of goals. So I think it'll be a difficult game. I don't see them being anything too different to what they played like last year. I know Rosenior has a style of football, but yeah, I don't know too much about their manager, but I can expect it to be difficult.
Yeah, I didn't know too much myself. Tried to look, obviously, knowing we were coming on here. I saw one journalist called it heart attack football that he tries to play: high press, high energy, high reward. And I think that maybe is what they've tried to do after Rosenior, who sometimes got criticism for being too negative with the players that he had. Although I thought they were brilliant when they played QPR last season. I
100%.
personally think we've struggled against the likes of West Brom, Sheffield Wednesday, who play with a high press and with intensity to their play. So whether we can exploit Hull at the back as they press onto us, we'll see. But as every QPR fan keeps saying, as we all know, we just need to move the ball a lot quicker to achieve anything. And from a QPR perspective, if you glass half full, the 2 games that we've lost have been to the team's first and third. If you glass half empty, then we're now talking about a QPR side that didn't win a game in September. So this match on Tuesday at Loftus Road as well, we seem to be struggling at home. It's been the theme for, feels like to me, the best part of the last 2 years. We're struggling at home. Can you think of any reason why?
I've said it on other places before that you could potentially blame the size of the pitch. You look at it away, Marty style, potentially there's more space, there's more freedom for creativity, more his style of football. But I think I don't know. It's hard to put a pinpoint on why we aren't winning at home, and it's not just that. It's we're not scoring goal. We're not scoring too many goals at home, and it's just very frustrating for us at the moment, isn't it? And I think that home win's got to come at some point, isn't it? And I think 12:30 kick. We haven't had. Was it all of our home games this season have been 12:30? That doesn't help. Like I spoke to Madsen the other day. Perfect example. He says he hates 12:30 kickoffs. So how's that dressing room going to think before a midday kickoff? So I think it's a bit too soon to judge home form this season, but I do think that home win is needed, and just a win in general, to be honest. Before the Blackburn game, I was thinking of it in more of a positive light. We were unbeaten. We only lost. Well, no, we were unbeaten apart from the West Brom game. But now I'm looking at it as it is a must win because yeah, it's just you can't go too far into this season without getting that home win or just another win.
Yeah, we do need to win at home. I agree with what you're saying about the 12:30 so far. I think it was QPR Analytics on Twitter. Fair play to them for checking. They said that QPR were the only team across all four divisions to have played all their home games in that early slot so far. And even Jimmy Dunn, you said Madsen said it, Jimmy Dunn said it. They don't like the early kickoffs. And I think they're looking forward to this one being under the lights. And hopefully we can create a good atmosphere and that it makes a difference to our home form. In terms of looking towards the team, the main QPR news of the past week was, of course, the club releasing a video of Ilias Chair back on the grass. It was released just after Dave and I recorded the last show. He didn't feature against Blackburn, but we were starting to struggle. Could he get a few minutes here to start to build him up, or would you wait until after the international break?
I think every QPR fan would love to see him get some minutes against Hull, and I've never believed in a thing of if a player's fit, why would you wait? Like I get potentially injury prevention going forward, but Ilias Chair doesn't really bring to mind a player who's fit but doesn't want to play. So I think you saw it kind of with Dembele when he first came in. Marty said that he was available to play against Cambridge, but then he waited for the weekend of Sheffield United. So potentially that was a bit of the case with Chair, waiting to best bring him in, and I think he will be involved against Hull. The media team aren't stupid. You aren't going to post videos of Chair training if he's not going to be involved soon, are you? So I think it is crucial, and it would be massive if he could get at least some minutes against Hull, because I've always said QPR are a better team when Chair's playing. He just gives you that spark, doesn't he? That bit of creativity. So yeah, I think every single QPR fan will be hoping that he could be involved against Hull.
Yeah, definitely. I think most QPR fans actually now pinning our hopes of a decent season on Chair coming back and taking us up a few gears and helping us to balance the team a little bit. I think obviously the sensible decision would probably be to wait, get through this match in Derby, and then he gets another 2 weeks off. But I think if he can just be on the bench, I think everyone will see the team sheet on Tuesday evening, see he's on there, even on the bench, and it'll just give everyone a buzz. It'll change the atmosphere. And I think they should do that, even if they don't really have any intention of playing him. Just getting him involved, because I think it'll make a big difference and give everyone a boost. Jake Clark-Salter was out against Blackburn, though. If he doesn't return, options are limited at the back. So if he does miss out, the main question mark is then usually about right back. Would you be starting Ashby or Santos?
See, I don't think either of them had the greatest game against Blackburn. I think Ashby had it harder because obviously he had 11v10. But I thought against Sheffield Wednesday, Santos weren't that impressive either. He kind of reminds me of a player who's taking too much time on the ball. He's almost adjusting to English football. So I think it's a difficult one. I think I would personally start Ashby, but I wouldn't be surprised if he plays either of them.
Yeah, hopefully Clark-Salter's back, obviously, but there's a little bit of a worry that he's coming in and out of the side again, a bit like 22, 23. It's unsettling for him and the defensive unit. I'd probably go with Ashby as well, just because it gives him his chance to start, see what he can do. They can always change it around if he gets booked, which is what usually happens. He changes it, doesn't he, if someone gets booked in the first half. In midfield, Varane will be suspended, obviously. Colback is clearly struggling with the knee injury. Recent performances, though, they've highlighted, haven't they, how much we miss Jack Colback.
No, no, no. I think Jack Colback. He kind of gives you that bit of I don't know, a bit of feistiness in midfield, to be honest. Um, Certainly coming into this game, I'm not too convinced about the Madsen field combination at the moment. I think Madsen's still settling in, so I don't think it's the greatest game for them to be in the midfield when it's a must win. And I think it's for me personally, I don't rate Jimmy Dunn at centre back. I think at the moment he just looks. He's always turning back on himself. He doesn't look comfortable. He looks a bit like how he did Millwall away last season when he was at centre back. And I know he was a revelation at right back, but I think at centre back at the moment he just doesn't seem comfortable. Whereas I weren't at the Crystal Palace game, but I heard that Phil did a decent job at centre back. So if Colback was fit, you could have potentially moved Phil back into centre back, and then that would have saved your right back issue as well. So I think all these injury issues are just coming at potentially the wrong time.
Yeah, I agree. I would have played Field at centre half myself. I mentioned it a few shows ago, but obviously we've not had that ability to do that because we're so tight at the back with Morrison being out as well. In terms of Colback, he's just the only midfielder who gets it and turns, and we just miss that. We just don't have a direct replacement for him either this season, like we did last season with Hayden. That's hurting us because Varane and Madsen, both very different types of players, they've proven so far. Then Elijah Dixon-Bonner, clearly down the pecking order. He's barely featured in the league. So I think if Colback doesn't make it, it's going to be Field and Madsen as the deeper pair. Then in front, Dembele at least is fresher because he only did 45 minutes at the weekend. I wonder if we'll see Alfie Lloyd, maybe Anderson. It's so hard to predict, isn't it, who's going to play behind the striker?
Oh no, it certainly is at the moment, but I've said it's not a bad problem to have, is it? Like I can't think of many seasons where QPR have had creativity player issues, but I think Mike will go into it. I think Dembele will start. It just depends whether he'll start in the middle or on the wing because I feel like he's more suited to playing in the middle. Although at Blackburn he didn't really get on the ball too much. I can see him starting Anderson, to be honest. I know his decision making at the moment has been poor, and he had an absolute mare at home against Millwall, but I've just got a feeling that he'll bring Anderson in and he'll save Smith for the bench as another impact player.
Yeah, I mean, Smithy did 90 minutes, so he could be a bit fatigued. And Saito put in a shift as well before he was withdrawn at Blackburn. As I seem to keep saying, it's anybody's guess who's going to play. You have to let us know who you'd play in the comments. And of course, let us know your predictions for this whole match. We'll finish with ours now. QPR have not lost back-to-back games since January. But what do you think ahead of this one, George?
I'm always trying to be a positive on this show, so I don't think we'll lose back-to-back games, and I'm going for a 1-0 home win.
Yeah, I don't think we'll lose either. I think Marty's going to change a few things. If we do have Chair back in just the squad, like I said, that could make a big difference to this game, just with the whole atmosphere around the club. But I can't see us winning. Sadly, not right now. Too much of a from where we are to win in a game just seems too much of a jump for me at the moment. So my prediction would be another 1-1 draw, and just hoping for more. I'll be back again later in the week as Dave joins me to preview the trip to Derby. Incredibly, it's already last game before another international break. Join us for that. But in the meantime, thank you for George for his insight. Thank you for watching, and come on, you R's.
Come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.